Hey, what's up? I don't really have anything planned for this video, but I left a rather agitated response to a YouTube comment, and I figured rather than doing that, I deleted the comment and I figured I would just rant to you guys. And I wanted to talk a bit about the idea of setting negative expectations for yourself and the harm that I believe that causes. And I think there's an epidemic of people who don't understand that they have within them the innate ability to learn and to grow. And this is a self-defeating mindset I see all over the place, especially in the realm of fighting games, because I think fighting games are really brutal and really confront you with your weaknesses up front and center. I don't know, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because it seems to be something that it always comes up whenever I talk about educational videos. Really what spurred this rant I'm about to go on, I believe, is I put out this video, the Ultimate Street Fighter 6 Starter Guide for 2025 here. You might have different thumbnails based on what YouTube decides to deliver to you. Double A and I worked really hard on this video, and I'm really proud of how it came out. And it's basically an introduction to Street Fighter 6, and I figured with the recent like Capcom Cup 11, Sage M Slam, I figured this would be like a good jumping off point now to like do a really well-produced and concise introduction video to Street Fighter 6. So in this video, I build on my experiences from coaching in Sage M Slam, and I present a sort of dichotomy between the approaches of someone like Doki Bird and someone like SK. And in the intro, I reference them here. Well, I was also a coach in the very first Sage M Slam for Street Fighter 6, where I was able to successfully coach players like Doki Bird to become the most feared player in her division, and also players like SK, who started the game from scratch and went on to become Master Rank.
Let's go!
And this brings us to our... Yeah, so I kind of dropped that to establish both like my credibility as a player and a coach, and showed that I've had success in helping new players achieve success in this game. And then I, throughout the video, I kind of reference approaching it from more like modern controls, instant wins, mind games with Doki Bird, and more like long-term foundational planning with SK. Kind of just serving as a juxtaposition as we go through the whole video. But a lot of the comments are rightfully so about how SK, like, oh, SK, just keep in mind, you might not have results as soon as SK. It's a long time. It can take a long time to learn and grow, and don't be disappointed if you don't have immediate success, which I think is all fine and good. But sometimes I feel like the tone and the source of these comments comes from a really messed up place where I almost think they do far more harm than good. I didn't go into it, but yeah, SK's case of how fast she got to master, I believe was within like 2 months. It is a rather exceptional case because, for one, SK is literally a professional content creator and streamer, so she's able to dedicate all of her time playing ungodly amount of hours to practice at the game. She grinds very hard. She's already been a high-level gamer in Overwatch, Deadlock, Marvel Rivals, right? She understands how to learn. She's learned how to learn and has applied that to many different game genres. That is the skill, I think, of any pro gamer. A lot of them have learned how to learn. Now, not every gamer that reaches like really big heights in whatever game that they compete in is able to transfer those skills that effectively. You see a pretty common trend of high-level competitive gamers being able to take their talents across different genres and mediums because there's a common thread of learning how to learn, and someone like SK has mastered that. A lot of these comments I saw about like, oh, keep in mind it's exceptional. It is exceptional. That's a fact. But sometimes these comments go to the other extreme. Their comment was saying, keep in mind, you might not get to master rank. It might take you 1 year. It might take you 2 years if you're a brand new player. It might take you 3 years. You might never get there. And I'm thinking, brother, 3 years for master rank? The game has not even been out for 3 years. But it is true that some people never progress. But I don't think that's inherent to them. I don't think that's really a problem with the individual. And I don't think the goal of getting to master rank is something that is unattainable. I firmly believe that in most cases, the barrier to reaching a goal like master rank based on how the Street Fighter 6 rank system functions in and of itself is due to a lack of guidance, such as coaching, so that they can have focused practice to work explicitly on the issues they're facing to add to their skill set overall in order to continuously improve and progressively overload in their talents in the game. I think maybe the resources haven't reached them that can help them guide them. If someone was able to work hands-on with them, directly with them, I firmly believe that nearly anyone on the planet can be coached to master rank. Obviously, there's exceptions. I do think your own predisposition in life will color all of your outcomes, of course. Your genetics, your ability to learn, your time, especially. I think time is the number one component, and your motivation, right? Like, do you really want to put the work in to do it, right? But I think for the vast majority of people, I think the default assumption we can assume is that you can do it. You can do it. And I do believe there are major exceptions, of course. Like, for example, there are players who have been playing Street Fighter for 30 years, and they are stuck in Platinum rank. They are stuck. And I think they're going to have a much harder time, potentially, than a new player. I think people who have ingrained in them these patterns in Street Fighter 2, they never quite learned the game on a deeper level. They played more casually at the arcade back in the Street Fighter 2 days, or mashing on, Super Nintendo with their siblings and friends. And they were satisfied with that. And as the years went on, and as the different iterations of Street Fighter came out, they never really moved beyond that. And as the competitive scene grew and grew, and now the advent of the internet and people sharing technology and understanding these game engines on a much deeper level, and as communication kept progressing, people were learning faster and faster. They often tended to not grow with the times. For a player like that, I think they're going to have a much harder time improving, because not only do you have to learn new skills, you have to unlearn your intuitive ways of understanding the game. It's double the work, maybe even more. I don't know exactly how to quantify it, but you're going to have to unlearn a lot of things to make room for new ways of approaching and new pathways in your brain. And as you get older, that just becomes more difficult, right? So I actually think the older player has a much harder time in terms of growing and getting over these plateaus. For newer players, though, you can do it. You really can. I think it's so... I understand that these kind of comments are coming from like the position of, don't set really high expectations or unrealistic expectations for people so that their ego doesn't get hurt and they get demoralized and quit. Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, don't make it seem like it's impossible. Brother, you can do it. It drives me nuts when people act like they can't learn and improve things. I see this all over the place in terms of people approaching fighting games. You can do it. You can learn skills. It's not an impossible task. This genre is not particularly impossible to learn, to be competent in. It is not. I think it's just a little bit more psychologically difficult because of the 1v1 aspect and how immediate the feedback and the negative feedback is. I think it's a little more difficult psychologically. But it is, I'm telling you, it drives me nuts when I see this defeatist mentality and people try to spread it like it's a positive thing for protecting incoming players. There's a balance for sure, but man, I don't think it's helpful to say to somebody it's going to take you 3 years to get the master rank, because it's just not true. So many players from Sage Jam Slam, beyond just SK, have gotten to master rank as brand new fighting game players in a couple of months. I've seen so many brand new fighting game players improve really fast, and that's because, for one, they're probably maybe D-Gen gamers and have a lot more free time and responsibility, so that will scale the rate of your achievement for sure. But beyond that, they learn how to learn. They've been embedded in competitive gaming for such a long time that they understand like the process of internalizing, breaking down problems into smaller and smaller ones that are digestible, finding individual solutions and then piecing it together to build up their overall skill set. They understand that. And that's a unique, or rather the opposite, that's a generic process, right? And I think a really good video that helped communicate this very succinctly, well, actually, the opposite. It's a very long video. But it really encapsulated this phenomena really well. It's by Sane Retry. It's this video, The Skill Issue, or How I Learned I Could Learn. So Can You. Also, Capitalism is a Disease. Hour-and-a-half video essay, but listen to this opening segment here.
When I was a kid, one of the absolute worst things my family taught me was this false statement. You cannot learn to be good at things.
It is a false statement. I think so many people have been taught this. This opening monologue, he goes on, describes how his grandmother, while she was mostly a positive figure in his life, would always instantly squash any effort he made in terms of producing art, in terms of developing a talent in some ways. Because if he didn't show instant progress at it, instant results, instant skill, instant potential, it was squandered and met with negativity saying, this is bad, you are bad. This is not something you should spend your time on. He goes on to explain like the root of that was, because she grew up in the Great Depression, and any time spent focusing on skills that didn't receive immediate return on investment in terms of making money was detrimental literally to her survival in terms of being able to put food on the plate and be able to survive. Really great video. I think anyone should really watch this, especially the first like 20 minutes or so. I think that tale, it's heartbreaking in a ways, but I think it describes a lot of people who I think unfortunately have had a similar upbringing where they weren't nurtured in this way, where they realize that you can be bad at things, start bad, and continue to progress and get good. You do not need talent. You do not need to be good at something. You are bad when you first start. Everybody starts out bad. Like, I think that's also missed from a lot of people, this mentality that you have to have instant results. You are going to get beat, and that's part of the process. In fact, that's your feedback mechanism. You keep losing, and that helps you give feedback on things you got to improve on. And how do you filter that and break down that complex, abstract problem? You lose. It's a very abstract thing. There's many things that contributed to that loss. How can you start picking away at that to break that down to digestible pieces and solve those problems one by one to, complete the whole and eventually make progress and improve the skill? Great video. Highly recommend it, because I think the root of a lot of people's issues with fighting games, it's all up here. It's all in your mind. I firmly believe that. There are limits to everything we can do in our life. Of course, I'm not saying you can become a rocket scientist overnight. I do think we have our limits, but I gotta say, I think for example, master rank, I know I always get flack for this. I don't think master rank is a super unattainable goal. This is from September 2024. I don't know if there's any more updated visual statistics from this. You can see here, 11.89% of the ranked population is in master rank already. And generally what happens is people reach the next tier and they stop playing because their ego is satiated. Oh, I got to whatever X, Y, or Z rank. I'm happy. So often they kind of fall off at that point. But you can see as you get closer to the next tier, you push through to make it into the end. You can see as an individual rank, master is actually the highest. If you exclude the sums of the individual sub tiers, platinum 1 through 5, for example, most players per individual rank are in master rank. The rank system in Street Fighter 6 incentivizes this continuous growth that has inflation built into the point system. You gain more points than you lose until you hit master rank. And then people have issues. There's a whole other can of worms that I eventually do want to get into about getting into master rank, because you start out at 1500 to keep the average of points always evenly distributed. But really, you're going to fall. Like if you barely get into master rank, you're probably around a 1200 MR player. So people have a really brutal reality check when they get into master rank, because they go on a losing streak to stabilize where they actually belong in terms of relative skill level. And that's pretty harsh. That's harsh for players to get over. Not sure if there's a better system for that, considering it's like an ELO system. Maybe just having those expectations going into it could help. Different topic. Anyways, I think you guys can do it. I think it's not healthy to assume like these goals are so unobtainable. Getting master rank is not winning EVO, for example. Of course, you might not make it to master rank, considering you might not put in the time, the effort, and there might not be enough resources. I think the number one problem is an education problem, a resource problem. Filtering down the process of learning what you need to learn as you progress through the ranks. It's an education problem. It's not a you problem, and you can do it. Believe in yourself, please. I just, it pains me to see this idea passed around. It is difficult. It is challenging. It's not going to be overnight. That's fine. But if you keep working at it and you have the right help along the way, I believe you can achieve your goals. I truly do. That's all I have. I'm ranting. Thanks for watching. Peace.